Welcome back to Lower Keys Living, everybody. Today I am talking about three great shipwrecks to fish here in the lower Florida Keys. So get your notepads out, take some coordinates down, and give you some great locations to try to do some fishing. The first, if you've watched any of my previous videos, chances are you've heard me talking about the Wilkes-Barre. It's kind of a starting or finishing point for almost every one of my trolling trips. The Adolphus Busch Senior. This sits just off the reef in some shallow water. And the USS Kendrick, a little deeper water, but a nice wreck for some deeper water fishing. So I can start, just give you an idea of where these are. Drop this pin a little off. The Kendrick, or the Busch actually sits just a little bit west, almost straight in between Cudjoe Key and Summerlin Key. But these are the GPS coordinates for the Adolphus Busch. These are the coordinates for the Wilkes-Barre, which is just straight south of the bow channel right off of Cudjoe Key. And then here's the USS Kendrick a little further west out here in a little bit deeper water. So those are the GPS coordinates: Kendrick, the Wilkes-Barre, and the Busch. So a little closer look here at the location again. This is Cudjoe Key right up in here. You got Summerlin Key, so you can see the Busch is almost straight south in between off the Kemp Channel right out here. So I love fishing with chunk bait. I'll chunk up some bonita that I keep when I catch bonita. I'll chunk those up and use those for bait. And I like dropping that bait down to the bottom out here, looking for some big jacks, some nice mutton snapper, and the bigger yellowtail snapper tend to hand out towards the bottom out here. People do come out here, they will chum a lot, and I've chummed out here before with some good success on yellowtail, but it'll bring in a lot of small yellowtail before the bigger ones come up, and it also tends to bring in sharks and barracuda that are hovering around in between the wreck and the reef. So this is a close-up look. This shows the 4 mooring buoys that have been out there. These mooring buoys are clearly marked for diving and fishing. They don't want you using the dive buoys that sit right over the top of the wreck. They don't want you fishing directly on it because this is a really popular dive site. Don't want to be hooking scuba divers and the snorkelers that are out here. The reef agency that manages these just added some new mooring buoys. I heard they added 4 or 5 more mooring buoys. I have not been out there. It's only been maybe 2 weeks since they were placed out there. I will be making a trip out there next chance I get just to see how many more mooring buoys they had it out there. But on the inside, it's plenty shallow enough that you can anchor, and that's what I like to do. I like to anchor in 60, 70 feet of water in between the wreck and the reef. So your reef is going to be right up in here where it goes from 100 feet deep up to 30 feet deep up on the shelf. And again, I'll anchor anywhere in this area. And then I also like to troll. A lot of days if I'm going out, I'm going out trolling, I'll just head out here and I'll start out here. I'll come out and pass around, and then I'll just start my very first troll lines in the water, and I'll just troll past the bush right out here just to see if I can pick anything up right off the bat. I've got mahi out here, and I'll show you one of those in a second. I've picked up sailfish and wahoo right out in here. So that's a mid-sized, small mahi. Got a few weeks ago just off the bush again. It was nice. First thing, 25 minutes out of the dock and have a nice fish on board already. This is the USS Wilkes-Barre. The ship snapped in 2 and they sunk it, so there's 2 distinct sections on here. Just taking a look at the bigger section of the tower on this, you can see 236 feet to the bottom, but this ship rises up to less than 150 feet below the surface. Lots and lots of structure, brings in lots of fish. This is kind of an empty image here, got a band of fish here. But there's times where you'll just see massive bait balls or schools of tuna in here at all different depths working catching fish, which is why this is such a popular spot. On the left, you can see on my chart, my course map, how often I'm out here just circling this wreck. I need to go in and delete some of these course lines, but you can see what I'm doing out here. So when I come out here trolling, I'm looking for mahi, tuna, and wahoo, had just watched my video 2 weeks ago, ended up with some rainbow runners, which are amazing sushi and sashimi fish right over the top of the Wilkes-Barre. So I needed to add rainbow runners. That's the first time I caught those in this close. And talked to some other people. They haven't heard of that happening very often, but I added rainbow runners. But mahi, tuna, wahoo, very common out here over the top of the Wilkes-Barre. People do come out here live chumming for tuna and big amberjacks. So not my thing, but people are bringing out loads of pilchers. They'll toss them in, try and bring fish to the top, and then they'll jig for them as well. And then jigging for big jacks and tuna and wahoo out here is really common. So lots of different things you can do out here. If you come out, find out which way your current's going, and let yourself just drift across the wreck. Just be aware, this is a really popular spot. So if I am out here trolling, fish will travel a quarter-mile away from this wreck if they're seeing good bait in the water. The water is usually crystal clear. They've got amazing vision. So I'll circle wide of people that are out here live chumming or jigging, so I'm staying away from their rigs and giving them pretty good clearance. So one thing about the Wilkes-Barre, it is known for sharks, so get your fish on quick. Here, the taxman took a share of this blackfin tuna. We got both of these on at once. I ended up with the one that was keeping. My daughter had the one on the bottom. And nice fish. You can see that one was obviously bigger than the one that got bitten in half. Or the one that got bitten in half was obviously bigger prior to the shark bite. But yeah, the shark grabbed it. The line took off like mad and then went slack. So knew the shark got that one. But yeah, that is a tuna bitten in half by a shark. And then the last one I want to talk about is the Kendrick. Kendrick sits just a little bit west of the other wrecks and a little deeper water. Its bottom sits at 355 feet. The top is at 250 feet below. And it's one of my more consistent tuna trolling areas. Not sure it's because we've got current coming around the end of the Keys and the Gulf Stream's coming up, but a little more active. I've done really well with trolling for tuna over here. It is a really popular spot with people chumming with pilchers for tuna and then also jigging for wahoo. I will tell you, I have not done live chumming over the Kendrick, but I've had a lot of success going for tuna, trolling for tuna out here. This is just an image. One of the things I like to do is I will start at the Adolphus Busch, and sometimes I will just zigzag across the 175-foot depth line. And when I get close, I'll just make an angle and I'll come out, troll right over the Kendrick, loop around, come back over the Kendrick a second, maybe a third time, and then I'll do this zigzag back and forth in between that 230 to 250-foot depth all the way back to the Wilkes-Barre. So hope this information gave you something to shoot for, gave you a few ideas of things you might like to try out here. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on Lower Keys Living.